Good morning and welcome back to Sun Upon 7. Just before the break, we had a dynamic couch talk as usual. I mean, we never had to call a ghost guard. Yes, on truth, I see you. But we're here now into our first segment, and we're joined with Miss Melissa Zuniga, who is the General Manager of the Belizean Society of Composers, Authors, and Publishers. And we're talking about World Intellectual Property Day. Some of you may not know what that is, but let's dive into it. Good morning, Ms. Zuniga.
Good morning.
Thank you for being here with us today. How are you doing?
I am doing fine.
All right.
Yes,
Great.
good to be here.
So, before we get into World Intellectual Property Day, could you educate our audience as to what intellectual property is?
So, intellectual property deals with the creations of the mind. So, anything that you think about, you basically own that creation. And so that includes, songs, the lyrics, the melody. It includes poetry, recipes. If you come up with a design for a house, a chair, all of those things are intellectual property, and the persons that created or came up with those ideas own that work,
Rights to it,
or the
right.
rights to
Right.
that work.
So, I know that there are different aspects of intellectual property. Could you give us the four of them?
The four ones, so we have copyright, and that looks at music, books, poetry, etc. And we also have industrial design, we have trademarks, and we have patents. So those are the four main areas of intellectual property.
All right. So, go ahead.
In Belize, what do you think we mostly try to cover when it comes to, owning the rights of something?
We generally look at trademarks and patents. Those are tangible, so it's easier for persons to, to understand, for them to see or know that somebody created that work. Whereas with the intangible work, so like copyright,
Right.
it is not something that you can touch or physically, see. And
So that's like
it's
lyrics and
yes,
thoughts and ideas and books.
yes.
Yeah. All right.
And
great.
so the copyright is, a bit harder to understand.
So I understand that from the society, you'd mostly deal with music.
We deal with musical
So
works.
how does
correct.
that go about with the society?
Okay, so BSCAP is a collective management organization. And so we're registered under the Companies Act of Belize, but we deal with the creation of musical works.
Okay.
So the lyrics, the melody, persons that produce, songs, records, and also those persons that distribute the music, whether it's digitally or physically. Those persons, or that is covered under BSCAP, or you can become a member and collect for when that work is used or exploited.
So basically, an artist, when they come and they brainstorm in the studio, they do their whole thing, and they came up with a song, they would run it by you guys to kind of like get it to be their own thing? How does it work?
You automatically own or have the copyright. However, you register it so that in the event that something comes up and you have to take that matter to court,
Right.
there is some documentation. So so that is mainly the reason why you would register, or in the case of like trademarks and patents, those things would be registered at the Belize Intellectual Property Office, right? So that there's a paper trail, asserting ownership of that work. But you automatically have the copyright or own the copyright for whatever you create.
There's like infringement. So if anything comes remotely close to your works or lyrics or
Or
whatever,
even
the
the
case,
name,
yes,
even the name of like your business.
cannot be similar.
Yes. So
Well, I mean, the company registry takes care of
they're
that for you.
companies registered, but also BELIPO.
Okay.
So they would double check to ensure that the name is not, somebody did not register it before, or that it's not too close to another name.
What would you say in regards to people that look at the idea? I've had this idea, but maybe Brandon's had it too as well, or you've had this idea too. So why does it matter for us to, make sure people know that or own the rights to what we've come up with? Because when I think about it, there's so much millions and billions of people in the world, and they probably had the same idea.
Yes.
So why do I have to own it?
Well, you just want to, ensure that it is yours, or that any financial gain for the use of that comes back to you.
Definitely.
You know, because there are, for example, the people that write songs, especially in the US, you know, there are people that just only write songs or compose melodies.
Right.
And the person who sings the song is not necessarily the one that wrote it. So you want to ensure that all the people that had a part in the creation of that work will be able to collect for their work, for their
Royalties, right.
contribution to that work. Yes.
It really looks at the contribution of what you take with it. Because everybody could have the idea, but who put in the investment to make that idea happen? And I think that's definitely where owning these things comes into play, because I thought we could have this idea, but who jumped on it? Who put all that money into that time, into making that song, making that thing for them, and the world knows it now because of you, and then somebody else wants to say, I already had the idea too. So
and it's the same with even if like three of us work on a song, we would decide who has more or what the percentage of ownership for that work would be. Because I mean, we could decide, you know, if you were the one that came up with the melody and you and I came up with the lyrics, then you may say, oh, I want to own more of the rights to the song. So it's also something that you would discuss, you know, if you're working collaboratively on something. Yeah.
In terms of, I'm looking at this commercial, this reel behind us now. I can see all these artists. Who can be a member of this society, as well as what type of art, or how many artists do you have?
Okay, so any person who creates musical works can become a member. So we have different membership categories. So if you're a performer, so if you sing or if you play an instrument, you can become a performer member. If you write the lyrics or compose the melody, you can become a writer member. That's why we say authors, because you write, you know, the songs or the melody.
Oh, I never thought it would be that.
People think it's books, but there's another, you know, society or another entity that deals with, you know, publications, etc. And then we have producers. So the people that produce the songs, they can also be members, and publishers. So we have 4 categories of membership. And currently we have about 105 members, and it's across the 4 categories. So we have some members who are, you know, they're writers, they're performer members, they're producers, because they do all of that, and they're entitled to collect for all of those rights.
That's amazing. I never thought that there was a society like this in the first place, and to hear the amount of members in it. I mean, we have a lot of artists here, but
the categories too as well.
We weren't thinking behind the scenes with the authors and the producers, and well, they're performers. But that's kind of a little mind blowing there. So, Michelle, let's get into World Intellectual Property Day. What is that about?
Okay, so World Intellectual Property Day is celebrated every year on April 26th. And it you know, it's just to honor the creators. So all creators, not only those that create music, but all creators. And this year the theme was IP and youth innovating for a better future. And so we just, the idea behind it was just to celebrate, you know, all the work that has been happening, especially, you know, as we are at the end, hopefully, of the COVID-19 pandemic. You found that, you know, a lot of creation, a lot of creativity, and a lot of new things were developed during this time. And so it was just to celebrate all of that.
And what did the society do in terms of this day?
Well, we collaborated with BELIPO, and there was a webinar where, you know, we just spoke about intellectual property and the different categories. And I also did a presentation on BSCAP and copyright as it relates to music. So that was what we did here. And then with the regional societies, because we are a member of the Association of Caribbean Copyright Societies, we also had another webinar, and we spoke about blockchain and how that can be used or is being used by the music industry, and how what opportunities exist for us to, you know, tap into that, into blockchain and using that.
I put a pin on that right there. What is blockchain for people that I don't know what it is? For I was like, blockchain. I think about, like, I didn't even want to tell you what I think about when I hear blockchain. So could you please, you know, define that for us?
Well, in a nutshell, it's using, you know, the digital digital media to it's very complicated. So
I
it's
know, I
just
think you're probably
you-
finding smaller words.
yes, I'm yes, but it basically it's technology that allows for it's innovation, and it's just the way that the world is moving to.
That's
Yes,
how
so
what COVID pushed us into.
yes, and so it looks at currency. So it's like a digital currency, and it's a system that, according to the presenters, it is not as hackable as other types of digital technology. In a nutshell.
Have we had any type of in the music arena here in Belize? Have we had any type of infringements coming from maybe international or local?
Yes,
settings?
we in Belize we still have a lot of the music users. So the music users would be, the broadcasters, the persons that do promoters, concert event promoters,
Right,
restaurants, bars. We still find that a lot of music users, they do not want to pay for the license, and they feel that they should not be paying, especially if they know the artist.
Right.
They're like, oh, I'm promoting you.
That's not fair.
I know, and so we find that they're still very hesitant because it's something that they don't understand. But as I was mentioning before, different people work on a song, and so we want to ensure that all the persons who had a role, would be able to compare
So,
exactly.
I remember some years back, our music ambassador, Shine, was cracking down on hotels and restaurateurs and
Yes.
things like that. How could a public place go about and purchase the license?
Get a license. So you would contact BSCAP, and we would then do an assessment because it's on an individual basis. Each entity would use music differently.
Right.
And we look at the capacity of the space and how often the music is going to be used. And then there's a tariff structure that we have that, we would then issue the fee or obtain the fee based on that structure. And so that is how we go about it. And we're open to negotiating because we do understand, like I mentioned, we're coming, after 2 years of lockdown and minimal activities. We understand that.
Okay.
However, the artists they also suffered because
And this
they
is
have not
where
been able to
the whole struggling
work.
artists come from, because
Yes.
you're just playing my music out there just like that. I'm not
Exactly.
collecting any royalties, or my lyricist isn't getting any royalties
Exactly.
or encouragement.
Or you
And,
have somebody who has the music on a flash drive and they just give it to you. And so you're not collecting anything from that. And
Like
so
your music, you
in
put your
terms-
time
Yes.
and effort into that.
Yes.
I want to ask something, and maybe it might be a little bit technical, but let's say we've had a number of artists here on the show, and we've asked them where we can purchase their music, and we go and buy their music. Do we at that point own rights to that music?
You own it. You own that CD, or that if you purchase it digitally, that that song,
That track, right.
However, you do not have the permission to disperse it or to share it because it's just for your personal use. The minute you play it maybe at a in a restaurant or bar, then that's a public performance, and so that is where you need to pay. When it's for your personal enjoyment, you can play it.
So in terms of private parties or things like that, can I play it there?
It still would be technically a public performance.
Okay.
I think that makes it so there's so much intricacies
Yes,
for it.
there
Why?
is.
Because I'm thinking, for artists too as well. Like, if I buy this music and I have it and I want to share it with my friends to say, this is a really good track, you should try it too as well, and I'm sending it. But then I'm also, not supposed to be sending it. But then I see artists sometimes say, share my music, share my music. So I'm like, what do you want me to do? Am I supposed to share? Am I supposed to
Yeah.
share? Am I infringing on your rights? Do you need money from me sharing? Like, what happens? Because then I'm seeing the intricacies there that comes along. Because you would think that artists would want their music to be played in the club and played all over the place and so forth. But are they getting paid for this thing too as well? So there's so
Yes.
much stuff to think about. The promotion of themselves.
Yes.
But at the same time, that's their music. Are they being compensated for them having that song be played.
Yeah. And then remember the performer, who is most likely the person that we would be familiar with, may not own all the rights to that song. Because remember, you had somebody that came up with the melody, they went to a studio, so you have a producer.
My legal mind is like clicking, clicking, clicking.
But you know, so you have all of these different people that have some level of ownership to that song.
Right.
So while the performer can give you permission, you have to ensure that if they have 100% ownership of that work, then they can give you permission.
Because I like, for instance, on Saturday I was around an artist and the song was blasting. Popular songs were blasting. And I'm just thinking now that you've said this, is that a public performance? I mean, I guess as the artist you get permission or they're trying to promote, but at the same time, the intricacy of the composer, the lyricist underneath,
The producer,
all of those people, what do they get in that
Exactly.
process?
Exactly. So
Sorry,
that's
going off.
I know. So that is that's why we are here to facilitate that process, because you can get permission from the creators, but imagine you want to have an event and you're going to play 10 songs, and for each song you had maybe like 4 people that worked on that song. You would basically have to go to 40 people to get permission to play 10 songs. And imagine you have a radio station, how much music is played on a radio station during the course of the day. So then that makes it, complicated to get the permission. And so we're here because we have our members who have assigned their rights for us to act on their behalf. And then we have agreements with other societies, which are called reciprocal agreements, so we have the societies in the US, in the Caribbean, in Europe. And so we are able to act on their behalf and collect, for example, the American music. We have agreements with BSCAP, with BMI. And so when we collect, those monies will also be distributed to the other societies, because we don't only play Belizean music. We play music from Jamaica, we play music from the US, from Trinidad. And so we also have to distribute that to them. And vice versa. If a Belizean artist or one of our members' works is played in the US, they collect and then they would send that to us as well. So it makes it easier for that process. And when you obtain a license, that you have the rights to, a wider amount of music.
I actually wondered how that worked, but you beautifully put it just now. Oh gosh.
It's all about the collaboration. Now you see why I need to get into a society, and it helps because you can't be everywhere. They can't be everywhere. Exactly. And so that's how you kind of like dot your I's and cross your T's, because now you're able to collect, and you're in touch with all 104, I think it's 104, 105 you said, as a part of the association. So it's so interesting to see how this works out. I'm sure for viewers out there, like, you hear this music, you love it, but you don't know all the things that go behind it, the compensation that is deserved by these artists too as well. So look at all the 2 cents that I want to learn from Mekwadala today. So I just want to thank you so much, Ms. Zuniga, for being here, for shedding so much light, educating the population on what it is really when it comes to infringement, about the copyrights, but owning your music. I know a lot of artists out there, the new artists are probably thinking like, this is an association, this is a society that you want to be a part of because you have that music. Maybe you're the one that's writing the songs or you have somebody else, but think about it because it's a team effort and you need to be compensated for your work. As we're wrapping up this segment, is there any final words you want to give to people out there when it comes to, trying to not infringe on the rights of artists and in general, just how we're supposed to carry out our day when it comes to the ownership of people and their music?
Okay. Well, if we look at the same way you would look at your house and your yard, you do not want anybody to just go into your house and take anything from it.
Right.
And so if we look at music in that manner, it's the same idea, the same concept. You do not want to just take, that work or take something from the artist and not give them anything in return. And it's almost offensive to do that. Right. So that is how you can equate it. And so it's important for us to ensure that we are doing the right thing, you know, getting permission, getting your license fee, getting all of that clearance before, because now with all the technology that exists, people are able to better track their music,
Right.
especially digitally. So they can see, especially the US artists, they would know that their music is being played here. Sometimes we're contacted because the artists, when they come to Belize and they perform, especially on San Pedro, they would submit their songs. They would be like, oh, I'm at this venue and this song, and then we're contacted
Okay.
because then they're here and that's a public performance and they know that it's a revenue stream for them. And
So I never. That's how Costa Maya and all of those
yes.
things. Ah, there we go.
So
that.
There we go, Becky G, we see you.
we're just encouraging everyone to just, you know, understand that, you know, there's a process.
Right.
And if you need clarity on the process, you can contact us and we can issue. So info at bscap.bz, so info at BSCAP.bz, or 615-2768.
All right.
Thank you guys. You know now we don't understand the process sometimes. That's not an excuse. Learn about the process, ask the right questions, possibly be a part of the society. But whatever it is, let's remember to move forward differently. We're now educated, we have knowledge, and this is just a tip of the iceberg. There's so much more other things that are in store. We just celebrated in World Intellectual Property Day, but that doesn't mean that every single day we're supposed to not be thinking about these artists, thinking about these people that deserve to be compensated for their work. So I just want to again thank you for being here and educating us. And so with that, we go to our next commercial break. But when we're back, we're going to be talking about habitual conservation from Friends for Conservation and Development. Stay tuned for that exciting conversation. We'll be right back.